Audio Analysis of Reading Program by Jane Browning. The Inference Strategy is a strategic instructional model developed by Kansas University. This SIM is a step-by-step process for developing the abilities necessary for increasing the overall reading comprehension and skills of students. These steps include pretest, describing and modeling, verbal rehearsal, controlled practice, advanced practice, and post-test. Step 1, pretest. Conducting a pretest is imperative for getting students' baseline skills and knowledge level of reading comprehension. This pretest measures the student's ability of reading fluency and making inferences and meaning out of text. This summative assessment will be evidence of the student's skills and growth after completing the reading program. Step 2 is the describe and model phase. Students will need to know the steps of the strategy, therefore students will be introduced to the strategy's overall concepts. The instructor can also use the think aloud method for showing the students the step-by-step process of the strategy. Mnemonics are often used in SIMs to facilitate memorizing steps so that students may apply the steps when reading. For this strategy, the mnemonic infer will be used to facilitate the step. So the steps for infer: interact with the passage and the question, note what you know, find the clues, explore any supporting details, and return to the question. Interact with the question and the passage. For this step, students are instructed to simply survey the text and then read it. Surveying the text requires the students to review the title, the length of the text, bold captions, illustrations, and the questions. After surveying the text, we can gather information about it well enough to begin to predict or have a general idea about the text, which will help with comprehension and memory. Note what you know. It is during this step that students will begin to apply what they know regarding the two types of questions. To do this, students will learn to identify key terms to distinguish the two types of questions. Types of questions include factual questions. These will have the answers directly in the text, and these include a what, a when, where, who, how, and a why. For example, when was the Revolutionary War? We can find the answer directly in the text. Think and seek questions are associated with the big picture, like theme, the overall message of the author, or predicting questions like what might happen next, and clarifying question. We want to know a little bit more of why something is. For find the clues, this is the step of the strategy where students are being asked to find information to support their response. This supports the cognitive development associated with reading and comprehension because students will be purposefully analyzing the text to draw conclusions or to provide inferences to support their logic and reasoning for why they chose their answer and why the answer would be correct. Explore supporting details. After finding the clues, the students then review the surrounding text of that clue to analyze if they understand the key concepts, and they can make the correct inference based on these details. Students will be required to create meaning out of the details and apply any of their prior knowledge to help with the reasoning process. Return to the question. This is a simple step, but it will ensure that students go back and answer the question. Having students complete the process of every step in the strategy ensures success. This step increases accuracy through deliberate action of completion. Step 3, verbal rehearsal. During this step, students must be able to do the following. They need to describe the purpose of the infer strategy, explain the mnemonic, list the steps of infer, state 2 types of questions, explain the key words associated with the question types, define reading and why it is useful. Through verbal rehearsal, this provides a summative assessment of the student's understanding of the program, and it also demonstrates the student's level of commitment to the program. Step 4, controlled practice. During this step, students are interacting with the passage and questions while following the steps of infer as modeled explicitly by the instructor. Through these activities, students will engage in collaborative learning by reading aloud, listening, and discussing with peers and the teacher as the steps are applied in short narratives. This practice and experience is essential for building skills and storing these skills into long-term memory. Step 5, advanced practice. This step follows the same processes and procedures as outlined in the infer strategy. However, the complexity of the text and the questions increase in difficulty. As students successfully advance in their practice, so does their skills and their confidence. Step 6, post-test. Throughout the program, the student's progress is logged on a progress chart. This progress chart gives students the explicit feedback on their skills and abilities in their reading and comprehension as they move through the program. This program is effective in increasing students' score from an average of less than 50% to 83%. To conclude, the strategic instructional model, like the infer strategy, are effective reading programs to support neurological processes that impact reading skills and comprehension. 4 key aspects of this reading program that demonstrates the support of neurological function include the procedural steps of infer, verbal rehearsal, the controlled practice, and advanced practice. This organized strategy supports cognitive function necessary for learning how to read, for memory, and the ability to transfer skills beyond the classroom.